I've been working with a lot of sort of data science teams throughout my career. And obviously, when I was in-house working for corporations, as well as working for large agencies, and then also doing my own sort of data agencies, what I found is that I used to, I as well as pretty much everybody else, we looked for really, really highly skilled data scientists, people who could build really good models, who could, code to an extent that they could extract data from systems, that they could do the feature engineering, that they had a great experimental or methodological mindset, where they could, formulate experiments to get evidence for what works, what doesn't work. So we looked for really good technical data scientists, people who could get the work done. But as time has progressed and as the world has changed, and now that we're into 2026, one of the things I'm noticing is that those technical people don't seem to be the most valuable person in an organization. Like I said, historically, they would come in and they would, deliver solutions and get the business moving on being data driven. And I talk about this a lot in my book, In Data Culture, where when you hire these really good technical experts, they come in and they get the data strategy going and leading the business to become data driven. But recently, I found that these people aren't necessarily now the most valuable people in an organization, especially within a data team or a data science team, or even within an agency, especially if it's a data science agency. What I'm finding now is that those people who I've hired, or we do hire, who aren't probably the best coders, who aren't probably the best statisticians, actually, if they're good communicators, if they're good storytellers, then they become much more valuable as you mature as an organization. And one of the reasons for that is, even as the industry has matured and people have realized that once you've got your setup in place and everything, building loads and loads of models, or building lots of dashboards, or creating lots of sort of applications doesn't really help you become data driven. The other thing that's recently also sort of negated the fact of having technical excellence is AI, right? Especially generative AI, where it can write code for you, it can suggest solutions and technologies that will answer business problems. So both of those things, the maturity and where we have got to as an industry and as organizations have got to, plus AI, has meant that these people who potentially weren't the best coders, weren't the best statisticians, but who are great at communicating and storytelling, are now becoming more and more valuable. And one of the reasons for that is that they're very good at increasing the business's data literacy, right? They go around, try to explain things, they try to bring the business on board. They don't assume that the business should understand the language of data without them actually going around and educating them, but also using language that the business also understands. So the data literacy thing is a two-way thing. One is obviously getting the business familiar with data terms, but the other thing is also relating those data terms to things that the business is already familiar with. So that makes it easier for the business to relate to the analytical solutions that have been delivered. So these people are very good at going around connecting the business to the solutions through the language that's being used. So they basically improve data literacy across the organization. The other thing they do is they keep people informed and up to date. Okay, so what happens is that they will realize that if if it's a long project, people are going to lose interest. Then they'll proactively keep people updated and informed, or if a project's taking longer than it should do, they'll proactively communicate and keep people informed. And so what happens there is that the business is now aware of what's happening. They're not just met with a wall of silence. They're actually engaging with someone who's happy to explain what's going on, not just in technical terms but also in business terms. So the business understands why those delays occurred, why they occurred, whether they were due to technical limitations, whether they're due to business limitations, whatever it was. This person's able to communicate those issues to them. The other thing which actually the business is now appreciating more and more is people who express the ethical value or the ethical considerations that the business needs to take when analyzing data, especially if you're dealing with customer data. So businesses have traditionally asked data scientists to build certain models, and these data scientists have happily gone off and built those models. But you get these people who come along and they go, that's great, but we should really think about if this is the right thing to do based on who our customers are, or if it's the right thing to do based on what our company values are, or what our strategic value is. So they will try and match sort of ethical considerations and ethical judgment to the analytical or data output or outcome, to make sure that it aligns with where the business wants to, how the business wants to be seen, and how they would want to treat their customers, and how their customers would also want to be treated. The other thing that these data scientists bring to the table is actually their decisiveness in making a decision. So a lot of the time businesses will get a recommendation, or they'll get a list of outputs or insights, and it'll just be like, okay, so what next? And these data scientists will actually say, these are sort of some of the options that you have, and I would recommend this option based on X, Y, Z. And the business really appreciates that. Now, I don't really like giving these people names or labels, but there are people talking now things like analytics translator. Now, ultimately, what you're talking about is someone who's a good data scientist or a data analyst, if that's the area that the business is operating in. But essentially, this person is a good translator of the technical terms into the business term. But more than just a translator, actually, even though people are calling them sort of analytics or data translators, what there actually are people who bridge the gap between the technical, especially the data technical stuff, and the business, and especially the business, the strategic elements of the business. They make that connection so that the business can see the value of the data, and the data guys can also see the value, or they can see how they fit into the business strategy. So ultimately what you're looking for are data scientists who understand data, understand algorithms, understand coding, but they live in the business. They are very much in tune and incorporated and integrated into how the business operates. So they know that whatever they're doing or whatever their team is doing will match what the business wants to achieve. So like I said, as teams are maturing in organizations, data science teams, as well as AI coming along, allowing for technical expertise to be pretty much available to everyone, it's these kind of data scientists who probably weren't the best coders, who probably weren't the best statisticians, but were very good at being a bridge between the data and the technical elements of data and the business. They will be the most valuable assets that you have. So if you already got those kind of people in your organization or in your team, then nurture them. If you haven't, next time you're hiring, think about that. Think about, do you need more technical experts, or do you need more people who can bridge the gap between technical expertise and the business? And finally, one of the things that I'm encouraging organizations to do, or even data agencies to do when they're hiring data scientists, is to bring in business-facing people. So if you're part of an organization, bring in people from different departments into the interviewing process, so that they can ask the kind of question that they will be asking their data scientists, and see if that person can respond to it. The same with a data agency. If you're hiring more data scientists, then get them to speak to your client services team or to your account managers, who will be asking the kind of question that they get from their clients.